Assalamu alaikum. This is Ridwan Ahmed, Bachelor's of Business Administration in Accounting and Finance from United International University. Welcome to my channel. Today I will discuss about a very interesting topic with all of you. The topic name is Introduction to Finance or Fundamentals of Finance. So let's start the topic. First of all, finance. What is called finance? If we simply define the definition of finance, finance means funding or generation or collection of money. The two conditions are associated with finance. Number one is collection of fund or collection of money, and number two is investment in different profitable sectors with the collected fund. So finance is constituted of two things: collection of money and utilization of money. So in in this slide, the scholar come to a single point about the meaning of finance. They give the definition that finance is a management of money which includes different activities like number one investing, number two borrowing, number three lending, number four budgeting, number five saving, and number six is forecasting, which are elaborated of finance definition. So if we, for example, if we give the proper example of our family, each and every family there needed fund or they needed money in order to do daily necessary of their needs, or they need to go for different types of expenses, daily expenses. For example, they need to do expenses in purchasing fruits, purchasing vegetables, which are day-to-day activities. So in order to do different types of expenses, daily expenses, which I have discussed earlier, I have discussed that purchasing fruits, purchasing foods, purchasing vegetables. So in order to do different these types of expenses, money is needed. So finance is a fact of collection of money, and the collected money is used to do different types of expenses. Then types of finance or classification of finance. We can classify finance in two categories. Number one is short-term finance and number two is long-term finance. Short-term finance. The duration of finance is less than or equal to 1 year. That means the duration of finance is equal to 1 year or less than 1 year. We can say that it is short-term finance. On the other hand, long-term finance. The duration of finance or duration of funding is more than 1 year. So the main definition of long-term finance is associated with long-term funding. That means in order to do long-term expenses, long-term finance is needed. For example, bank loan. Bank loan is one kind of long-term finance. That means if we take loan from the bank, the relationship of lender and borrower is come to a point, and that is the duration is more than 1 year. So fund is collected more than 1 year. It's a called long-term finance. Short-term finance, for example, we can say it's a commercial paper. It can be treasury bill. These are the instrument for collecting short-term funding. Okay? list of financial instruments. There we can see that here are several types of financial instruments through which fund is collected. Number one, commercial paper. Number two, stocks. Stocks is a kind of financial instruments. Here the company issue different types of stocks in order to collect the capital for their company. If a company wants to purchase a short-term or long-term fixed asset like building, equipment, machineries, vehicles, these fixed terms of fixed assets purchase is their main objectives. In that case, they issue stocks in order to collect capital to do expenditure in case of purchasing different types of fixed asset or non-current assets. Stocks, here we can classify two types of stocks are available. Number one is common stock and number two is preferred stock. Then come to a point, bond. Bond is a one kind of collection of fund as a loan. For example, if we take a loan from the bank, bank gives the fund to us. In that way, bonds is a bond is a kind of financial instrument through which company collect money as a loan. Here are different types of bonds like coupon bond, zero coupon bond, treasury bond, etc. Then come to uh, the next financial instruments, that is debentures. Bonds and debentures, basically bonds and debentures are same or similar, but there is a small difference between bonds and debenture. The difference is that bond has a specific time period. After the time period or after completion of time period, borrower must have to pay the borrowed fund to the lender. There are two types of parties associated with the bond: borrower and lender. Borrower can be individual, borrower can be institutional, and lender also can be institutional or lender can be individual. Institutional institution that means banks, insurance companies, all other institutions, and the lender may be individuals or institution. So after the specific time period, the borrower must have to pay the borrowed fund to the lender. On the other hand, in case of debenture, there is no fixed time period. It's all about perpetuity. Then go to the next point. Treasury bill is a one kind of financial instrument, but treasury bill is all about 1 year maturity period. It's a short-term financial instrument. Then saving certificate, money. It's all about it's all about a certificate or paper. Against this paper or against this instrument, money is money is money is saving. After the duration of period, the principal and of amount of money and the interest both are collected or both can be fined from the saving certificate. Then the mutual fund, it's all about uh, financial instrument, but the maturity of mutual fund is all about 1 year. So here we can see, or I have discussed different types of financial instruments, but there are short-term and long-term. These financial instruments are classified on the basis of short-term and long-term basis. Short-term financial instruments are commercial paper, treasury bill, and mutual fund. On the other hand, the long-term financial instruments are stocks, bonds, debentures. So the next, basic financial acts. In a country, government create defined types of rules and regulations. Financial Act is one of them. Government generate or government create defined types of financial act to control the financial institutions. Here we can see four types of financial acts are available. Number one is money laundering, anti-money laundering. Money laundering means converting illegal money into legal one and transferring the illegal money to different countries. So it's a bad reputation for the economy and it is not a good thing. It's a bad thing for the economy. So in order to prevent the economy from bad activities, anti-money laundering act is generated by the government so that people cannot go for illegal way to earn money. Then the fraud prevention. In the economy, fraud in the economy, the bad people or smuggler are involved in fraudulent activities to in the economy, the bad people are involved in thefting money or thefting different types of important information. So in order to prevent the fraudulent activities, fraud prevention act is created. Banking Act 1991. All over the world, Banking Act 1991 is still available. Here in the Banking Act, different types of banking rules and regulations are created for the different types of commercial banks or government oriented banks. This Banking Act is implemented by the central bank. Then the Insurance Act 1938. For the insurance activities or different types of insurance related act is created under the Act of 1938. Then the institutional investors. We know that there are two types of investors: individual investors and institutional investors. Individual investors, that means we the single people, but the institutional investors may be the banks or insurance companies who are also the investors, that means institution investors. They also invest their fund in different profitable sector. They may be banks, it may be insurance companies, it can be venture capital funds. So they also invest their fund in very crucial or very significant profitable sectors or very long term assets they invest. Then the significance of finance. Finance has very significant or significance in the economy. So in the slide, I have discussed several significance, several topics which are significance of finance. So number one is generate money. In order to do different types of expenses, money is needed. It may be day-to-day activities, or it may be a long-term or very much amount of money, or very profitable sectors. We need to do expenses. So we need money in order to fulfill our needs. Then organize operations. If we look at a manufacturing firm, for example, they need to do manufacturing activities on a day-to-day basis. For example, they need to purchase the raw materials, they need to uh, payment the wage or salaries to the workers or employees. So in order to continue their operations on a day-to-day basis, fund is needed. So finance has a significance in all over the sector. Then the managed cash flows. Cash flow, we know that two types of cash flow: cash inflow and cash outflow. So in the firm, cash inflow and cash outflow both are needed to continue the business operation. So through the finance, money is collected. That means this is a cash inflow, and with the cash inflow money, company need to or company can easily do expenses what they need. Then the strategies fund. So company, each and every business firm, they make a strategy of fund, or they find out which sectors or which investment project are profitable for them. So strategically they collect fund from from one sector, and utilize their funding, or utilize their funding with in a very which profitable one. Then outline long-term goals. Companies main objectives or main goals are two types of. Number one is profit maximization. Number two is asset maximization. So if we maximize our asset properly, easily profit generation can be easily done. So in order to fulfill their long-term goals, fund is needed. Then enhance production quotas for manufacturing companies. We know that manufacturing companies do production process on a day-to-day basis. So in order to do day-to-day expenditure, they need fund in order to flow of their production process. So finance is needed there. And lastly, the sustained economic downturn. That means economic sustainability is very important for each and every country. So in order to sustainability of economic downturn, money flow or cash flow is very significant. So these are the points which I have discussed are very important part of finance. So these are the significance of finance. So thank you so much for listening my lecture carefully. Thank you.